Have you ever stopped to think that over 80% of our oceans are still completely unexplored? Not mapped, not seen, not understood. Now imagine this. What if some of the creatures sailors feared hundreds of years ago were never myths in the first place? Because across different continents, people who never met kept describing the same things in the water. Dark shapes beneath ships, massive creatures surfacing at night, voices calling from the deep. Tonight, we're not just telling stories. We're uncovering 7 of the creepiest mythical sea creatures that might have been real, and in some cases, might still be down there. And trust me, the last one, you'll wish it stayed a myth. Welcome to Legends and Lore. Number 7, Umibōzu. The ocean was calm, too calm. Japanese sailors, as far back as the 17th century, wrote about something rising from the water. Not a wave, not a creature they could name, but a massive, shadowy figure with a smooth human-like head. They called it Umibōzu. Witnesses claimed it would appear during silent nights, right before storms, and then it would destroy ships. Some stories say it spoke, others say it simply watched, waiting. Modern researchers believe these sightings could be linked to giant squid or unknown deep-sea organisms rising to the surface. But here's the problem. Giant squids don't have heads like monks, and they don't stare. So what exactly were they seeing? Or better question, what was looking back? And if that's what rises near the surface, what's still hiding deeper? Number 6, Nixie. Not everything dangerous in water looks terrifying. Sometimes it looks beautiful. In German and Scandinavian folklore, the Nixie was said to live in rivers and lakes, appearing as a human, sometimes a woman, sometimes a child, luring people closer with music, then pulling them under. Historians believe these stories may have come from real drowning incidents, mixed with a human need to explain the unexplainable. But even today, divers report hearing strange sounds underwater, almost like singing. If you hear music underwater, just know it's not your playlist. Number 5, Ogopogo. Not everything in the water comes from the ocean. Some things never leave the lake. Deep in Okanogan Lake, locals have been reporting something massive beneath the surface for over a century. They don't call it a monster. They call it Ogopogo. Long before modern sightings, the indigenous Sioux people spoke of a spirit called Night Ka, a powerful entity that lived in the lake and demanded respect. Offerings were once made before crossing the water, because those who didn't sometimes never came back. In 1968, a group of tourists captured footage of something moving just below the surface, a long serpent-like shape creating unnatural waves. The clip still exists, unexplained. Scientists suggest it could be drifting logs, optical illusion, or waves interacting. But here's what doesn't add up. Logs don't change direction. Logs don't pace boats. And they definitely don't follow you. So if it's not a creature, why does it behave like one? Number 4, Gran Maja. Some stories don't come from books. They come from fear passed down, generation to generation. In parts of the Caribbean, fishermen speak of something called Gran Maja. Not a fish, not a whale, but something far larger, described as a massive serpent-like creature, capable of swallowing entire boats whole. No splash, no struggle, just gone. Unlike famous sea monsters, Gran Maja doesn't appear in mainstream media. No movies, no documentaries, only stories. And that's what makes it dangerous, because it was never meant to be entertainment. It was a warning. There are reports from the early 1900s of small fishing vessels disappearing without debris, without wreckage, without a trace. Ocean currents can explain some disappearances. Storms can explain others. But sometimes there's no storm, no warning, just silence. And in the ocean, silence is never a good sign. Number 3, Lusca. If you think the ocean is terrifying, wait until you realize something might be watching from below. In the blue holes of the Bahamas, deep underwater cave systems that drop hundreds of meters into darkness, locals speak of a creature known as Lusca, half octopus, half shark, and completely violent. Divers have reported sudden strong currents near these blue holes, pulling them downward, fast. Some never resurfaced, Official reports blame underwater cave collapses, pressure shifts, disorientation. But here's what survivors say.
It felt like something grabbed me!
Octopuses are known for intelligence. Some species can solve puzzles, escape containers, even recognize humans. Now imagine one, the size of a truck, waiting in complete darkness. And you thought swimming was exercise, because down there, you're not exploring. You're entering something else's territory. Number 2, Moby Dick. Sometimes, the truth is more terrifying than the myth. Most people think Moby Dick was just a story, a giant white whale, a fictional obsession. But it wasn't. In 1820, a real ship called the Essex was attacked and sunk by a massive sperm whale. Survivors described it as
aggressive, intentional, like it knew exactly what it was doing.
The story shocked the world and inspired one of the greatest novels ever written. Even today, sperm whales are capable of incredible force. Their bodies are built like living battering rams. So ask yourself, what happens when an animal that powerful decides to fight back? Because maybe Moby Dick wasn't a monster. Maybe he was defending something. Number 1, Cthulhu. Now we reach the one people call fiction. But even fiction comes from somewhere. The entity known as Cthulhu was introduced by H.P. Lovecraft in 1928. A cosmic being, sleeping beneath the ocean, waiting, massive, ancient, beyond human understanding. Most dismiss it as imagination. But here's the unsettling part. Lovecraft described things that science would only later begin to discover. Creatures in the deep ocean, with no eyes, strange limbs, bioluminescent bodies, organisms that look completely alien. The deeper we explore, the less familiar life becomes. So what if Cthulhu isn't real as a creature, but as an idea? A representation of something we still don't understand. Something ancient, something massive, something still down there, because the deeper we go into the ocean, the less it feels like Earth. But here's something most people don't realize. These stories didn't just appear out of nowhere. They came from patterns, across oceans, across centuries. People who never met each other still described the same kinds of things. Massive shapes beneath water, creatures that lure instead of chase, something intelligent but not human. And when you look closer, you start to see where those ideas may have come from. Because long before modern science, people were already finding things they couldn't explain. Bones too large to belong to any known animal. Fossils of ancient marine creatures found in places nowhere near the ocean. Skeletons of whales, sharks, and unknown species buried deep beneath the earth. To them, this wasn't extinct life. It was proof. Proof that something huge once existed, and maybe still does. Some of these creatures may have been inspired by real animals we now understand. Giant squids, capable of reaching terrifying sizes. Deep-sea fish with transparent skin and glowing organs. Octopuses with intelligence that rivals problem-solving mammals. Whales powerful enough to destroy entire ships. Not monsters, but close enough. And when humans encountered them, in storms, in darkness, in deep water, their minds did what minds do best. They filled in the gaps, turned shadows into faces, sounds into voices, movements into intention. But that doesn't mean everything was imagined, because humans didn't just observe these things, they reacted to them. They created rules. Don't sail at night. Don't cross certain waters without rituals. Don't follow sounds coming from the lake. These weren't just stories. They were survival guides, warnings passed down through generations, disguised as myths. And in some cases, people may have made things worse. Overfishing, noise pollution, destroying habitats, driving real creatures deeper, further away, into places we can't reach, places where evolution continues, unseen, because the ocean isn't just deep, it's isolated, and isolation creates things that feel unnatural to us. So when you hear about creatures like these, you have to ask yourself, are they myths, or are they distorted memories of real encounters with something we didn't fully understand? Because even today, we are still discovering new species in the ocean, still finding life in places we once believed were impossible, still proving that we don't know as much as we think we do. So maybe the question isn't,
are these creatures real?
Maybe the real question is, how many of them are still waiting to be rediscovered? So now, after everything we've uncovered, take a moment and think. Across different countries, different centuries, different cultures, people describe the same thing. Something in the water, watching, waiting, moving beneath the surface. And the scariest part? We've only explored a fraction of the ocean, which means most of it is still unknown, unseen, unexplained. So maybe these aren't just stories. Maybe they're memories, fragments of encounters we were never supposed to understand. Because the ocean doesn't just hide creatures, it hides truth. And sometimes, truth is far more terrifying than fiction. This is Legends and Lore, where myths aren't just told, they're remembered. If you felt something watching you while listening to this, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe, and join us again. Because next time, we're going even deeper, and not everything down there wants to stay hidden.